Across the galaxy, there were many things that different species feared: wars, black holes, plagues. But one thing was feared by all: the crimson dust. It was not a weapon, nor a virus. It was a substance that defied all understanding. When released into air, it melted steel and burned through the strongest bioshields. Even a single particle could kill an entire city in minutes. Whole planets had been lost to it. The Galactic Council had declared it forbidden. Its name was whispered with terror in every corner of the galaxy. No one dared to touch it. Until humans arrived. When the humans came into the galactic stage, they were considered young and reckless. Many alien species laughed at them: primitive, emotional, unpredictable. But their curiosity had no limits. When human miners on the remote moon of Zyra 9 discovered strange red crystals glowing beneath the rock, they didn't run. They dug deeper. Alien advisors sent urgent warnings. Do not touch it. It's the crimson dust. You will die. But the humans didn't listen. One of the miners, Captain Ryan Hale, held the glowing sample up to his helmet light and said, "Ha! Looks like chili powder." His team laughed, but the alien overseers watching through holographic feeds screamed in panic. The last time a civilization had found this material, their planet had turned into a burning wasteland within days. The miners brought the samples back to their ship. The moment the containment doors closed, the alien scientists outside sealed their labs and backed away. Every reading showed extreme toxicity. Radiation, acid, unknown energy signatures, all at once. The aliens waited for screams, for melting flesh, for death. But nothing happened. Hours passed. Then Captain Hale's calm voice came over the comms. "We're fine down here. It smells kinda nice, actually." The galaxy held its breath. News spread fast. Every species expected a human extinction report. Instead, the human government announced it had safely transported the crimson dust to Earth for testing. To most aliens, that meant suicide. The Galactic Council sent formal protests, but humans ignored them. On Earth, scientists from every major nation gathered around the samples. They wore protective suits at first, but after several hours, they realized the dust wasn't harming them. Their instruments screamed of danger, yet no one fell ill. Dr. Lena Carter, one of the lead researchers, held a small vial of the dust and whispered, "It's beautiful, like fire trapped in glass." Her assistant laughed nervously. "Beautiful? It's death, doctor." She smiled faintly. Or maybe just misunderstood. Within days, the internet was filled with rumors. Videos leaked showing scientists heating the red powder. When mixed with air, it gave off a sweet, burning smell, something between pepper and smoke. Some said it reminded them of home-cooked food. Others said it made their eyes water and their tongues tingle just by smell alone. Then one night, a video appeared that shocked the entire galaxy. A human chef, wearing gloves and goggles, stood before a camera. On the table beside him lay a small dish of meat and a pinch of the crimson dust. "They call this the most dangerous substance in the galaxy," he said with a grin. "Let's find out what happens when you cook it." Millions watched as he sprinkled the red dust over the food and placed it on fire. The meat sizzled, flames flashed bright, and the air filled with thick smoke. Viewers expected the man to collapse. But when the flames died, he sat, cut a piece, and ate it. His eyes widened, sweat rolled down his face, and he started coughing, and then laughing. "Hot," he gasped. "But good." He took another bite. "Delicious." Within an hour, the video spread across every human network, then across alien channels. Billions watched it. On alien worlds, scientists fainted. Governments panicked. The Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. "They're eating it," one delegate screamed. "They're consuming death." Another shouted, "Shut down their world. Quarantine Earth before it spreads." But the human representative, calm and smiling, simply said, "We're still alive. Maybe your readings are wrong." The truth was, the readings weren't wrong. The crimson dust was deadly to every known species, except humans. Alien researchers couldn't understand it. They ran simulations and chemical scans. The results made no sense. The dust should have burned through human tissue instantly. Yet human cells seemed to absorb it, react to it, and somehow grow stronger. The more they exposed themselves, the less effect it had. Meanwhile on Earth, the spice challenge began trending. People across the planet started experimenting with the dust, using smaller and smaller amounts in cooking. Restaurants offered crimson fire stew. YouTubers filmed themselves trying the galaxy's deadliest spice. Faces turned red, people cried, sweated, screamed, but every one of them laughed at the end. The human world called it a new flavor sensation. The rest of the galaxy called it madness. On the Galactic Council's capital world, a team of alien observers replayed the human videos over and over. One of them, an old scientist named A.R. Thun, shook his head slowly. "They should be dead," he said. "Every other species we tested vaporized at this dose. Yet they smile." The younger researcher beside him whispered, "What kind of creatures enjoy pain?" A.R. Thun looked at the screen, at the laughing humans covered in sweat and tears, and said, "The most dangerous kind." As Earth celebrated its new culinary discovery, the galaxy watched in fear. Many called for Earth's expulsion from the Galactic Union. Others demanded study. But deep down, one truth was spreading quietly from world to world. If humans could eat what killed everyone else, then nothing in the universe could truly frighten them. The crimson dust was no longer a symbol of death. It had become something far more terrifying, a symbol of human resilience. And as the alien ships orbited Earth, watching humans cook and laugh and eat the impossible, one thought echoed through every mind in the stars. What kind of species eats poison and asks for seconds? The Galactic Council could not believe what it was seeing. For countless ages, the crimson dust had been feared as the deadliest substance in the universe. But now, on the screens before them, humans were eating it with smiles and laughter. Across the stars, entire worlds froze in disbelief. In the grand chamber of the council, ambassadors argued and shouted. One alien slammed his tentacles on the table, hissing, "This is madness. They are defying natural law." Another replied, trembling, "They are defying death itself." No one had ever witnessed such a thing. No one had dared to even touch the crimson dust, and yet humanity had turned it into dinner. The footage spread like wildfire. The video of the human chef tasting the deadly spice became the most watched broadcast in galactic history. Aliens who had never heard of Earth now knew one terrifying fact: humans eat poison. On Earth, things moved even faster. Scientists tried to understand how humans were surviving contact with the dust, but soon, ordinary people stopped caring about the science. They were too busy enjoying the challenge. Food markets were flooded with imitation crimson spice powders, while real samples were sold in black markets for outrageous prices. Restaurants held competitions. Who could handle the hottest dish? Chefs experimented, mixing the dust with meat, noodles, and even desserts. Humans filmed their reactions, red faces, watery eyes, loud coughing, and laughter every single time. To the aliens, it looked like torture. To humans, it was entertainment. In orbit around Earth, alien observers watched in horror. Their instruments detected lethal energy waves rising from the planet's surface. They sent warnings to human authorities, urging them to stop, but humans ignored every message. One alien scientist, Dr. Vree, couldn't take it anymore. He requested permission to visit Earth himself, believing he could convince them to stop before they destroyed their world. When his ship landed, humans welcomed him warmly. They were friendly, curious, and endlessly talkative. Dr. Vree watched in shock as people cheerfully offered him samples of spicy food that contained traces of the crimson dust. "Don't be shy," one woman said. "Just a tiny bite." He backed away, horrified. You cannot eat this. It's lethal." The woman just smiled. "Only if you're not human." Her words haunted him. Back in the Galactic Council, panic grew. Reports showed that no human had died from exposure, not even from massive doses. Some scientists claimed humans had unique biology, their cells capable of adapting to extreme stimuli. Others argued it was impossible. They must be lying, one delegate shouted. But the evidence was undeniable. Every test showed the same thing. Humans were immune to the dust. The council called an emergency meeting to decide how to handle this crisis of nature. Some suggested quarantining Earth, others demanded to study the humans further. But before they could decide, another human video surfaced, this time, a live broadcast from a massive stadium. On the screen, thousands of humans filled the seats, cheering loudly. In the center, several contestants stood behind cooking tables, each holding small containers of the crimson dust. The event was called the Galaxy's Spiciest Showdown. Contestants had to cook and eat dishes made with increasing levels of the deadly powder. The entire galaxy watched, unable to look away. The first contestant took a bite and screamed, not in pain, but in joy. The crowd roared. The second contestant's face turned red, sweat dripping, but he laughed and shouted, "More!" One by one, they all ate, all suffered, all smiled. No one died. The broadcast reached billions of viewers. Even children on distant worlds watched in fear and fascination. The council chambers were silent as the broadcast ended. Finally, the high speaker stood and said, "We are dealing with something new, something beyond comprehension." An old ambassador replied in a low, trembling voice, "Or maybe something ancient, something born from a world where pain is just another flavor." His words echoed through the chamber. The aliens had always believed that survival meant avoiding harm. Humans, it seemed, had evolved differently. They didn't avoid harm, they adapted to it. Pain and danger were not enemies to them, they were challenges to overcome. The galaxy began to see humanity not as foolish, but as terrifying. If they could turn death into a meal, what else could they turn into power? On Earth, news anchors laughed as they reported the council's outrage. "They're scared of our dinner," one said on live TV. The human audience laughed with him. But beneath the laughter, there was pride. For the first time, humanity realized it had something the rest of the galaxy did not: resilience that bordered on insanity. Even scientists began to joke that humans didn't have normal taste buds, they had weapons. Some aliens sent secret envoys to study human biology, hoping to learn the secret behind their resistance. None of them could explain it. Every test ended with the same result: humans felt pain, but they didn't fear it. They embraced it. The Galactic Council tried one last time to reason with Earth. "Stop experimenting," the message said. "The crimson dust is a galactic threat. You are endangering all life." Earth's reply was short: "We are fine. Maybe you should stop being afraid." That single message sent a chill through the stars. For the first time, the galaxy realized humanity didn't just survive chaos, it thrived on it. The crimson dust had become more than a substance. It was a symbol of what humans truly were: creatures who laughed in the face of death. As the night fell on Earth, glowing lights from human cities sparkled across the dark planet. People gathered in homes, restaurants, and festivals, cooking food with what the galaxy called poison. They laughed, they coughed, and they smiled through tears of heat and pain. In the sky above them, alien observers watched silently, realizing that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology or their armies, it was their spirit. The galaxy had feared the crimson dust for millennia. Now, it feared something even greater: the species that called it spicy. The news of humanity's strange resistance spread faster than light across the galaxy. Every world, from the cold moons of Xerath to the shining towers of Vorn Prime, now knew about the species that ate poison for fun. Alien broadcasters replayed the human cooking footage again and again, as commentators argued in disbelief. "It cannot be true," one anchor said. "No biological system can survive direct contact with the crimson dust." Another replied grimly, "Tell that to the humans. They're not just surviving, they're enjoying it." Fear began to spread through the stars like a new kind of infection. Some governments banned human visitors, while others quietly sent spies to learn more about this terrifying species. On many planets, people whispered that the humans were not a natural race but some kind of experiment gone wrong, a species that could not die. Yet despite the fear, curiosity grew stronger. If humans could eat what destroyed entire worlds, perhaps they possessed a secret power worth stealing. Within weeks, black markets began trading in samples of the crimson dust, smuggled out of Earth by desperate alien merchants. They sold it to wealthy thrill-seekers and scientists who wanted to test it for themselves. The results were catastrophic. In the city of Luthor on the planet Cryn, 3 alien nobles hosted a private banquet to taste the human spice. Within seconds of touching it, their throats closed and their skin turned black. The next morning, the entire city was quarantined. Reports of similar deaths appeared everywhere. Yet the trade continued. Death only made it more famous. Across the stars, alien networks filled with human videos, humans laughing, sweating, eating fire on a plate. To many aliens, it looked like insanity. But to a few, it looked like strength. A quiet revolution was forming, led by those who wanted to become like humans. Meanwhile, the Galactic Council was collapsing under the pressure. The more they tried to control the panic, the worse it became. Scientists could not explain humanity's immunity. Every test failed to produce an answer. They examined human DNA, blood, and organs, searching for hidden nanotech or chemical filters. Nothing. It was all natural. Their biology makes no sense, one alien researcher shouted during a conference. Their pain receptors react, but instead of shutting down, they activate adrenaline and endorphins. It's as if their bodies reward them for suffering. Another added quietly, they don't just resist pain, they feed on it. The council fell into chaos. Some demanded humans be banned from using the dust, others feared retaliation. Humanity was still new to the galactic community, but it had already become the most discussed species in history. Earth's ambassador, calm as ever, spoke only once during the council debate. "We didn't invent the crimson dust," she said. "You feared it. We tasted it. That's the difference." Her words echoed across the chamber like thunder. On Earth, life continued as if nothing had changed. The world was proud of its new discovery. People lined up outside restaurants that offered dishes cooked with trace amounts of the crimson dust. TV shows competed to create the hottest recipes. Humans laughed at the galaxy's fear. They didn't realize how deeply that fear had taken root. In the shadows of alien markets, secret organizations began collecting human DNA, hoping to create hybrid soldiers that shared their tolerance. Others tried to replicate the dust itself. Some planets even began weaponizing it again, thinking if humans could survive it, maybe they could too. Every experiment ended the same way, with death. Yet still, they tried. On the icy world of Varnes, a group of alien scientists decided to study a captured human volunteer. His name was Sergeant Luke Connor, a former explorer who agreed to be tested in exchange for money. They placed him inside a sealed chamber and released small amounts of crimson dust into the air. The sensors screamed immediately, radiation levels spiked, the atmosphere boiled, but Luke only coughed once and laughed. "Smells like my grandma's cooking," he joked. The aliens watched in horror as his vitals stabilized. His heart rate rose, his blood pressure increased, but his body didn't shut down, it adapted. After the test, Luke walked out perfectly fine and even asked for a second round. The lead scientist, trembling, said to his assistant, "He's not immune. He's evolving in real time." That report reached the council the next day and caused a panic greater than any before. The galaxy began to understand something terrifying. Humanity's survival wasn't luck. It was nature. They came from a planet that tried to kill them every single day. Poisonous plants, deadly animals, diseases, radiation. Earth was a death world. While other species evolved in safety, humans evolved through pain. It was their element, their home. The crimson dust was simply another test, and they had passed it with laughter. As this realization spread, entire civilizations grew silent. The oldest and wisest species began to fear that humanity was not just another race but something more, something built to conquer the impossible. On the edge of council space, the commander of the Zorthan Defense Fleet watched human news broadcasts with growing dread. His aide asked, "Sir, should we prepare for war?" The commander shook his head slowly. "No. You don't go to war with something that eats your weapons." His words became famous across military circles. Even those who hated humans respected their madness. The Galactic Council issued another warning to Earth, demanding all research on the Crimson Dust stop immediately. But by then, it was too late. The dust was already part of human culture. They had turned it into a spice, a challenge, a joke, and a point of pride. Across the galaxy, everyone knew the same truth: humans had done what no one else dared. They had taken the deadliest thing in existence and made it part of their daily lives. To them, pain was flavor. Death was just another ingredient. And the universe began to realize, with a chill that spread through every species, if this was how humanity treated poison, how would they treat fear? The tension across the galaxy had reached a breaking point. Every species had watched humans eat the crimson dust and survive, but now the fear had grown into something darker: humiliation. Civilizations that had once ruled the stars were now mocked for being afraid of what humans called spice. The Galactic Council's meetings turned chaotic as delegates shouted and argued over how to deal with the human threat. Some demanded that Earth be isolated forever, while others whispered that it was too late. Humanity had already proven they were beyond control. But one voice cut through the noise: a powerful warlord named Zarthan of the Krell Dominion. His species had conquered dozens of worlds through strength and fear. To him, humanity's behavior was an insult. "They think this is funny," he roared before the council. "They mock us all. I will show them the meaning of fear." His challenge spread across the galaxy within hours. He demanded that a human eat the purest, most concentrated form of the crimson dust, something even the bravest alien soldiers wouldn't touch. If they survived, he would kneel. If they died, Earth would be punished. The galaxy waited for humanity's answer. On Earth, people laughed when the message arrived. "He wants us to eat more spice," one reporter joked during a live broadcast. But the challenge quickly became serious. The Galactic Council confirmed it would be televised across the entire galaxy. Billions would watch. Many believed humanity would finally meet its limit. Others believed they would make history again. In the days leading up to the event, scientists warned against it. "This isn't safe," Dr. Lena Carter said during a press conference. "The pure form of the dust could vaporize metal. Even our immune systems might not handle it." But humans are not known for stepping back from a challenge. Within hours, volunteers from around the world applied to represent Earth. They called it the ultimate spice trial. After long discussions, one was chosen: a chef and ex-soldier named Mason Reed, famous for his calm attitude and iron stomach. When asked why he volunteered, he smiled and said, "Because someone has to remind the galaxy that we don't back down." The day of the event arrived. The location was a massive arena on the neutral planet of Asterion. It was surrounded by thousands of alien ships, each carrying spectators from across the stars. Inside, billions more watched through hollow broadcasts. The atmosphere was thick with tension. On one side stood Warlord Zarthan, a towering figure covered in black armor, his eyes burning with pride. On the other stood Mason Reed, wearing a simple white apron with Earth's flag on it. Between them sat a table with a small metal container. Inside it glowed a swirling red powder, the purest crimson dust ever extracted. The audience held its breath. The announcer's voice echoed across the arena. "The rules are simple. The human will consume 1 full spoon of the crimson dust. No protection. No antidote. If he lives, humanity earns the respect of the galaxy. If he dies, Earth will surrender all rights to the dust." Zarthan leaned forward, his claws tapping the table. "You may refuse," he growled. Mason smiled. "And miss dinner? Not a chance." The crowd murmured as Mason picked up the spoon. Even the protective field around the table shimmered with the dust's heat. Scientists in the control room shouted that energy readings were unstable. One wrong move could cause an explosion. But Mason didn't hesitate. He took a deep breath, looked at the cameras, and said, "To humanity's curiosity." Then he placed the spoon in his mouth. For a moment, everything stopped. The arena fell silent. The dust ignited against his tongue, flames flashing briefly around his face. His body tensed, his eyes squeezed shut, and sweat poured down his forehead. Alarms blared, vital signs spiking off the charts. The alien audience gasped as his skin turned red. Zarthan smirked, whispering, "He's finished." But then Mason opened his eyes, exhaled slowly, and started to laugh. "Hot," he said, coughing. "But it needs salt." The entire arena erupted in chaos. Aliens screamed, council members stood frozen, and humans watching across the stars cheered so loudly that Earth itself seemed to tremble. Mason raised his hand and waved at the camera, grinning. "That's how we do things on Earth." Zarthan's claws trembled as he stood. His pride was shattered. The rules were clear, he had to kneel. Slowly, painfully, he lowered himself before the human. Cameras captured the moment, and within minutes, it was the most watched scene in galactic history. Across the stars, species that once mocked humanity now watched them in awe. The crimson dust, once the symbol of death, had become the symbol of human fearlessness. The council had no words. Even their scientists were forced to accept that human biology followed rules no one else understood. Their nerves didn't break under stress, they adapted, strengthening with every pulse of pain. It was not madness. It was evolution. When Mason returned to Earth, he was greeted as a hero. Cities lit up in celebration. Restaurants released new dishes named the Warlord's Bite and Zarthan Special. But in the quiet halls of the Galactic Council, fear turned into something worse, respect. For the first time, they realized that humans didn't just survive danger. They conquered it. Warlord Zarthan's surrender marked the end of the galaxy's belief that humans were weak newcomers. Now they were something different, an unpredictable force that could turn death into dinner and pain into pleasure. And as the stars watched the replay of Mason Reed smiling through fire, one truth became clear to all. Humans were not the strongest species because they were fearless. They were the strongest because they faced fear, and they laughed. After Mason Reed's victory, the galaxy was never the same again. The image of a human eating pure crimson dust and laughing spread to every star system, every colony, every civilization that had ever feared the substance. To many aliens, it was a sign that humans were more than flesh. They were something indestructible, something born from chaos. Yet to others, it was a nightmare come true. The crimson dust had been the galaxy's greatest terror for thousands of years, and humanity had turned it into a joke. The Galactic Council struggled to contain the panic. Some species began to worship humans as divine beings, while others called for their destruction before it was too late. Secretly, dozens of alien governments ordered research into the human body, desperate to understand how one species could survive what no other could. The labs on the Council's medical world, Varnath Prime, worked day and night studying samples of human DNA, cells, and blood brought from Earth. The scientists were baffled. "They should not exist," said one researcher, staring at a cell sample under magnification. "Every other known organism shuts down in pain. But theirs fights back. It doesn't stop. It adapts." Another scientist, trembling, added, "They don't evolve over generations, they evolve in moments." The Council realized that humanity's resilience was not learned. It was instinct. On Earth, however, the people carried on with their strange sense of humor. New dishes made with trace amounts of crimson dust filled restaurants. Cooking shows featured daring contestants sweating, crying, and laughing as they ate what once killed whole planets. Humans shared memes, jokes, and challenges, turning the galaxy's ultimate fear into entertainment. The rest of the universe watched in disbelief. To them, humans looked like maniacs, but deep inside, they began to understand a terrifying truth. Humans didn't just survive pain. They celebrated it. They called it flavor, thrill, and excitement. They had turned agony into art. Back in the council chambers, the atmosphere was grim. Warlord Zarthan's humiliation had shaken every major empire. For centuries, his species had ruled through fear, and now a single human had made him kneel. The message was clear: if humanity could eat death, how could anyone fight them? The High Speaker of the Council demanded answers. "What are these creatures?" he shouted. "Are they gods? Beasts? Mutations?" But no one could respond. Every scientific test failed to explain it. Even attempts to recreate human adaptation in alien subjects ended in disaster. The few who survived small doses of the dust became unstable. Some went mad, others mutated beyond recognition. Eventually, a council scientist named Dr. Threx gave a chilling report: their strength does not come from their bodies. It comes from their minds. They do not fear suffering. They welcome it. Their brains turn pain into challenge and failure into hunger. They grow stronger through struggle. That is why they can eat poison and smile. The council hall fell silent. For the first time in history, they realized that humans had achieved what no species had ever dared: to evolve through willpower alone. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, strange things began to happen. Small groups of aliens started experimenting with the dust again, hoping to imitate the humans. Most perished instantly, but a few managed to survive tiny doses. They became known as burned ones, aliens altered by the dust, capable of enduring more than before. Some worshipped humanity as teachers of strength, others cursed them for bringing chaos. Planets divided into two sides: those who feared humanity and those who wanted to be like them. Trade routes opened, carrying spice to the outer colonies despite the council's ban. Human merchants thrived, selling food, recipes, and even training kits to species that wanted to build tolerance. It became not just a trend but a movement called the Flame Path. To the galaxy, it looked like madness. To humans, it was business as usual. On Earth, Mason Reed retired quietly, though his name was spoken with respect across the stars. He once said in an interview, "We didn't do this to scare anyone. We just like good food." But deep down, even humans knew something had changed. They had proven to the universe that they could face the deadliest force known and turn it into something normal. For the first time in galactic history, fear had shifted direction. The galaxy no longer frightened humanity. Humanity frightened the galaxy. The Council tried to stop the cultural wave, but it was too late. Reports arrived daily of new alien deaths linked to crimson dust consumption. Some called it genocide through curiosity. Others whispered that humans had unleashed something they couldn't control. Yet even those who condemned Earth couldn't hide their fascination. "What kind of species can make poison look beautiful?" one alien journalist wrote. The answer was simple: humans. In the shadows, military strategists across the galaxy began to whisper that if humans could eat what killed armies, they might be unstoppable in war. Some believed the dust was the key to creating soldiers who could survive any weapon. Rumors spread that human scientists were already experimenting with using it to strengthen the body for extreme environments. Whether true or not, the idea alone was enough to make the stars tremble. The thought that humanity might one day turn the crimson dust into power was enough to keep entire fleets awake at night. In the great halls of the council, the High Speaker stared out into the darkness of space and muttered, "They call it spicy. We call it death. But in the end, maybe those are the same thing to them." No one dared to answer. Because somewhere out there, on a blue planet surrounded by stars, humans were still cooking, laughing, and eating what no one else could touch. They didn't know they were terrifying. They didn't care. They were simply being human, turning fear into flavor and pain into pride. And as the galaxy watched from afar, one silent truth echoed in every corner of the universe: nothing is more dangerous than a species that enjoys the things others fear. The fire that humanity had lit across the stars could no longer be contained. From one side of the galaxy to the other, the legend of the Spice Eaters spread like wildfire. Entire worlds spoke of humans in hushed tones, half in awe, half in terror. The crimson dust, once a forbidden poison, had become a symbol of Earth's fearless nature. While the Galactic Council tried desperately to restore order, their influence was slipping. The idea that pain could be strength had taken root among the younger generations of alien species, who saw humanity not as monsters but as teachers of courage. On planets where fear once ruled, young aliens began challenging each other to taste the dust in small amounts, calling it the human trial. It became a rite of bravery, a symbol of defiance against fear itself. The more the Council tried to suppress it, the more powerful the movement became. It was no longer about spice, it was about the idea behind it. Humanity had changed the psychology of the galaxy forever. On Earth, meanwhile, people found themselves at the center of a galactic revolution they never intended to start. Media networks buzzed with reports from alien worlds, showing creatures of all kinds coughing, sweating, and laughing as they mimicked humanity's strange obsession with spice. Human chefs became interstellar celebrities, invited to alien worlds to demonstrate Earth cuisine. Restaurants with names like Taste of Terra and Flame Feast opened across distant colonies. It was absurd and astonishing at the same time. What began as a joke, a man eating poison, had become the greatest cultural shift in galactic history. But not everyone was celebrating. In secret council meetings, the older species, the ones who had ruled for thousands of years, were terrified. "They are spreading chaos," one ambassador hissed. "Everywhere humans go, order collapses. We cannot let them redefine what fear means." Others nodded grimly. A secret plan began to take shape, a plan to eliminate humanity's influence forever. They called it Operation Silence. Operation Silence was designed to strike Earth's pride where it hurt most, their curiosity. The plan was simple: introduce a new substance, deadlier than the crimson dust, one that even humans could not withstand. They would disguise it as a gift, a diplomatic offering, and when the humans inevitably tried it, their deaths would serve as a warning to the rest of the galaxy. The Council recruited the best bioengineers from dozens of species to create the ultimate toxin, something beyond nature itself. They named it Black Ember. According to simulations, even a grain could destroy a mountain. It was the kind of thing that should have remained only a myth. Yet the Council moved forward, driven by desperation. When the Black Ember was ready, they sent it to Earth as a gesture of friendship and exchange, knowing humanity would never resist testing it. On Earth, the mysterious delivery caught the attention of scientists and the media instantly. The small black container was unlike anything they had seen before, cold to the touch, sealed with layers of alien encryption. The message attached to it read, "A gift from the Council, a spice beyond comparison." Many suspected a trick, but the curiosity of humankind was unstoppable. The government tried to contain the situation, but whispers spread fast. Every cooking enthusiast, every researcher, every thrill-seeker wanted to see what made it so dangerous. Among them was Mason Reed, the man who once faced the crimson dust and lived. He had retired from public life, but when he saw the footage of the mysterious substance, something stirred in him. "They're testing us," he said quietly. "They want to know if we'll dare again." His friends warned him to stay away, but Mason wasn't one to ignore a challenge. He volunteered to be part of the test team, not for fame, but because he understood what was at stake. If the Black Ember killed a human, fear would return to the galaxy. If it didn't, the universe would never see humanity the same way again. The test was held in a secure facility deep under Earth's surface. Cameras were banned, and only a handful of scientists were allowed to watch. The Black Ember was placed inside a vacuum-sealed chamber. Even through the glass, it radiated danger, a black crystal that pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. Instruments around it began to fail, metal corroding just from its presence. Mason stood outside the chamber, wearing protective gear, yet he smiled as if preparing for a casual meal. "If I don't make it," he said, "tell them it was worth the taste." He stepped forward, opened the chamber, and a wave of heat hit the room. The scientists shouted warnings, but Mason ignored them. He took a small pinch of the Black Ember, brought it close to his lips, and swallowed. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the monitors exploded in activity. His pulse skyrocketed, his body temperature rose beyond safe limits, and a strange glow began spreading from his veins. The scientists panicked, screaming for medics, but Mason raised his hand, signaling them to stop. His eyes burned bright gold. He was breathing heavily, but he wasn't dying. Instead, the glow stabilized. The room went silent. "How do you feel?" one scientist asked. Mason grinned weakly. "Like I just tasted the sun." Then he collapsed. For a moment, everyone thought he was dead, but his vitals returned seconds later, stronger than before. His body was changing, adapting at a rate the instruments couldn't measure. The impossible had happened again. Humanity had faced death, and instead of breaking, they had grown stronger. The Council's plan had failed. The Black Ember, meant to destroy humanity, had only made them evolve further. Word spread faster than the Council could hide it. When alien broadcasts leaked footage of Mason alive, glowing with faint golden light, the galaxy fell into chaos. To many, he was no longer a man. He was something more. A living symbol of humanity's unbreakable will. And as rumors grew, so did fear. The Council's secret had backfired, and now every species wondered what would happen if humanity learned to harness that power. In the quiet darkness of space, one truth echoed again. Humans did not conquer the galaxy with weapons or armies, they conquered it with their defiance of fear itself. The galaxy trembled when news spread that Mason Reed had survived the Black Ember. No one believed it at first. Billions had watched humans survive the crimson dust, but this was different. The Black Ember wasn't nature's creation, it was a weapon built by the Galactic Council itself, a substance designed to kill even gods. Yet Mason lived. And not only lived, he changed. The leaked footage of his body glowing faintly with golden light became the most viewed transmission in history. Aliens who once mocked humanity now whispered legends about them. Some called humans fireborn, others painwalkers. The idea that a creature of flesh and bone could consume death and rise stronger had shattered everything the galaxy thought it knew about biology, science, and fear. The Council tried to suppress the truth, but it was too late. The image of Mason Reed walking out of the chamber, eyes glowing and smile unwavering, had become a symbol of power beyond comprehension. The old empires began to crumble under the weight of disbelief. Species that had once ruled through fear now found themselves questioning their own strength. If humanity could survive death itself, then no weapon, no threat, no punishment could ever control them. On Earth, Mason was placed under heavy medical observation. His body emitted a low energy field that no one could explain. Machines malfunctioned near him, sensors flickered, and readings changed constantly. The scientists who examined him were both terrified and fascinated. "He's alive," one whispered. "But not in any way we understand." Mason would often wake up in pain, heat radiating from his skin, but each time, he would laugh softly and say, "Guess I just need more spice." Over time, his strength returned, but it wasn't the same. His senses had sharpened, and his body seemed resistant to almost everything: heat, toxins, pressure. He had become living proof that humans didn't just adapt, they transcended. When the government tried to keep his condition a secret, the news still leaked, and humanity's reputation across the stars reached mythic levels. Planets began sending delegations to Earth, not to threaten, but to learn. "Teach us your ways," they said. "Teach us how to become like you." Meanwhile, the Council faced total collapse. Their secret creation of the Black Ember had been exposed, and the galaxy's citizens accused them of attempting genocide. Riots erupted across several core worlds. Alien species demanded that the Council be dissolved, claiming that their arrogance nearly destroyed everything. But amid the political chaos, another danger was brewing. The leftover samples of the Black Ember had vanished. Someone had stolen them. Within weeks, reports surfaced of entire ships going dark near the edge of known space. Survivors spoke of creatures twisted by the Ember's power, half alive, half consuming flame. It seemed that not everyone wanted to destroy humanity. Some wanted to become like them by force. These Ember-touched pirates believed that if they could survive the substance, they could claim the strength of humans. But none succeeded. The dust burned them from within, turning their bodies into living fire for only moments before they disintegrated into ash. Yet their madness spread. Dozens of factions began searching for the black ember, convinced that it was the next step of evolution. Mason, still recovering, learned about these events and felt a heavy weight on his conscience. "We didn't mean for this," he told his doctor. "We didn't mean to make monsters." But his words were met with silence. Deep down, everyone knew that the galaxy had always feared humanity's potential. Now, that fear had taken form. Earth's leaders called a meeting with the Galactic Council. What remained of it? For the first time in history, the Council had to come to Earth, stepping onto human soil not as rulers, but as guests. The meeting was tense. The alien delegates trembled as they faced Mason, who stood calm and glowing faintly under the lights. "You wanted us to die," Mason said quietly, "and now your creation is out there killing others. You played with fear, and it burned you." None could respond. The High Speaker lowered his head, ashamed. "What are you?" he asked. Mason thought for a long moment before replying, "We're human. And that means we keep going, no matter what." The galaxy listened as Earth proposed a plan to destroy every trace of the black ember. Mason volunteered to lead the mission personally. "I started this," he said. "I'll end it." The council reluctantly agreed, knowing they had no other choice. A small joint fleet was formed, led by human ships but supported by several alien factions that now trusted Earth more than their own rulers. They called it Operation Ashfall. Their goal: to find and neutralize the last ember caches hidden across the stars. But the mission would not be easy. Many of the caches were already guarded by rogue groups who believed in the Ember Ascension. These fanatics saw Mason as both hero and enemy, the one who proved survival was possible, and the one who denied them the secret to power. As the fleet prepared to depart, Mason looked out at the stars, his reflection shimmering with golden light on the window. He knew the galaxy would never be the same again. He had turned poison into pride, and fear into fascination, but now the universe itself was paying the price. He whispered to himself, "Curiosity built us, but sometimes it burns too bright." When the fleet launched into the void, billions watched the broadcast. Some prayed for his success, others feared what might happen if he failed. For the first time, humanity wasn't just exploring the stars, they were saving them. The same hands that had once reached out to taste danger were now reaching out to protect the galaxy from it. Mason Reed, the man who ate death and smiled, was heading into darkness once more. But this time, the galaxy was watching not in fear, but in hope. The fleet cut through the blackness of space like a blade of light. Humanity led the way, their ships surrounded by alien vessels that once would have fired upon them without hesitation. But now, they followed Earth's command. Operation Ashfall had begun, the final mission to find and destroy every last remnant of the black ember before it consumed the galaxy. Mason Reed stood on the command deck of the lead ship Erebus Dawn, his golden-tinged eyes reflecting the stars beyond. It had been months since his transformation, and though his body looked human, there was something otherworldly about him now. His presence alone seemed to radiate strength and calm. "We find it, we burn it, we end this," he said to his crew. The words were simple, but every being aboard the ship understood the weight they carried. The galaxy's fate now depended on the same man who once laughed after eating death itself. As the fleet approached the outer edges of known space, the readings began to fluctuate. Strange energy waves rippled through the void, the same signature as the black ember. "We found something," reported Lieutenant Kara Voss, Mason's second-in-command. The crew's tension grew. Outside, a planet came into view, charred, broken, and glowing faintly like embers in a dying fire. It was once a mining world, now nothing but ash and ruin. Scans revealed massive caverns below the surface, pulsing with unstable heat. Mason's jaw tightened. "That's where it is." The fleet began descending into orbit, deploying drones and scanners. The deeper they went, the stronger the readings became. Soon, the screens were filled with energy spikes, like a heartbeat coming from the planet's core. Then, without warning, communication channels filled with static. One of the alien ships vanished from sensors. "We're losing ships," someone shouted. A blinding wave of light erupted from the planet's surface, and suddenly the void was alive with fire. Out of the chaos emerged vessels unlike anything seen before, twisted, blackened shapes glowing with crimson light. The Ember fanatics had arrived, and they were no longer entirely alive. Their ships pulsed like living creatures, veins of fire running through metal hulls. Mason's heart sank. "They've merged with it," he whispered. The Ember-touched had fused their bodies and ships with the very substance meant to kill them. They were no longer just pirates. They were a plague. "Open channels," Mason ordered. "Let's try to talk before we fight." A distorted voice crackled through the speakers, deep and broken. "You showed us the path. Read. You tasted the fire and lived. Now we will become more than you. We will become gods." Mason stared at the transmission in silence for a moment, then said, "You'll become ash." The enemy fired first. The sky exploded into chaos. Human and alien ships weaved through waves of burning plasma, firing everything they had. But the Ember ships were relentless, healing themselves as fast as they were damaged. Mason knew they couldn't win by force. "We can't destroy them ship by ship," Kara said. "There are too many." Mason's mind raced. "Then we destroy the source." He pointed at the planet below. "The core. That's where it all began." Without hesitation, he ordered the Erebus Dawn to descend through the atmosphere. The hull groaned as waves of heat battered it, but the ship held firm. "Prepare for manual detonation," Mason said. "I'll take the charge myself." Kara's eyes widened. "Sir, you won't make it back." Mason smiled faintly. "That's never stopped me before." He loaded a containment core with anti-reactive plasma, a weapon strong enough to neutralize the Ember's energy, but the device had to be activated manually at the heart of the planet. He suited up, stepped into the drop pod, and looked back at his crew. "Keep the stars safe," he said quietly, before the pod launched into the fire below. The descent was brutal. The air shimmered with waves of molten light, and the ground cracked like glass beneath him. The deeper he went, the more his body burned, but Mason kept walking. His golden glow grew brighter, the power of the Ember within him awakening. "You wanted gods," he muttered. "You'll get one." At the core of the planet, he found it, the black Ember itself, alive and pulsing like a heart made of flame. It whispered to him, promising power, immortality, control. For a brief moment, Mason saw what it offered, the ability to reshape the galaxy, to make humanity the dominant species forever. But he shook his head. "That's not who we are," he said. "We don't conquer through fear. We survive through will." With trembling hands, he placed the charge beside the burning mass. "Time to end this." The ground rumbled, and the Ember-touched ships above screamed through the comms, their voices breaking into static. "Don't do it. You'll kill us all." Mason smiled sadly. "That's the point." He pressed the activation switch. A wave of white light consumed everything. From orbit, the fleet watched as the planet ignited in silence, then collapsed into a brilliant sphere of light before fading into darkness. Every Ember ship, every trace of the infection, vanished instantly. The comms were quiet for several long minutes until Kara's voice cracked softly. "He did it." The fleet remained in silence, mourning the man who had once eaten death and laughed, and who now gave his life to destroy it. Months later, the galaxy began to heal. The fear of the Black Ember faded into legend. The council was dissolved and replaced with a new alliance, one built on respect, not control. Humanity was no longer seen as reckless or dangerous, but as protectors, the species that faced the fire and saved everyone from it. On Earth, a statue of Mason Reed was built in the middle of the United Terran Plaza, showing him holding a spoon, smiling, and surrounded by flames. The inscription read, "He faced death with a grin, and taught the galaxy to live." And somewhere in the stars, among the ashes of the fallen planet, a faint golden light flickered in the void. Some said it was Mason's final spark, watching over the galaxy he had saved. Others whispered that it was something more, that humanity's fire had never truly gone out. Because as long as there were stars burning in the dark, the spirit of humanity, the will to laugh in the face of fear, would never die.